But one of the things government has to do is make sure that there's an election process in place that's run fairly and openly, that's accessible, but at the same time is protected against any fraudulent or other inappropriate activities. We have the responsibility to make sure that elections are fair, open, honest, transparent, and available to all. One of the ways we can ensure that the ballots are counted fairly and that the machinery we use, the technology we use, is fairly reflecting the actual votes that were cast is the Risk Limiting Audit.
So we're here today to pilot the very first ever Risk Limiting Audit. It's a very exciting moment. It's a historic moment in the administration of elections in Rhode Island. And a lot of people were involved in getting us here. Rhode Island is an example to many other states. We've invested in our machinery, we've invested in our people, and we have a community-based approach here to making sure our elections are fair, fast, and accurate. But key is that people in Rhode Island can trust their elections.
Back in 2012, I went to a conference in Chicago when this idea was still fairly new. And I came back to Rhode Island and I had a bill introduced, and then eventually in 2017, we got that bill passed into law and signed by the governor. So today is huge because this is the first big step in implementing that law from 2017. We're running these pilot audits to test a variety of methods to figure out which one will be best come April 2020, which is the date in the law that Rhode Island has to first conduct these audits.
So day one of our 2-day audit involved our first audit method, which involved the batch comparison audit, which is really taking an entire precinct and randomly selecting that precinct and auditing that entire precinct's ballots. So what our staff was able to do, we broke up into 2 teams, and the batch comparison audit involved using 2 methods. These methods exist because they're a way to minimize human error when manually tallying ballots. So the first method is a sort and stack method, and that method is very simple. It involves a team of 2 staff team members essentially taking a ballot, and if you're auditing one contest, let's say governor, you essentially just separate the ballots into different piles depending on who the votes are for in governor, and then you count each pile to tally those votes for each candidate. That is very efficient in a one contest audit. However, when you're auditing more than one contest on a ballot, it is not very efficient. So the other method, which is the hash marking method, is more efficient when you have to audit more than one contest. In that method, you have 4 individuals in that team. You have 2 individuals manually looking at the ballot and determining who the vote is for. You have 1 person observing that process, and you also have 1 person hash marking on a tally sheet. And all of these individuals are double checking each other to make sure that their numbers are accurate.
Any type of audit, but particularly this post-election audit, provides 2 things actually. It allows the election official to show that the election was conducted accurately and correctly, and if there was an error, if there is some sort of discrepancy, it also provides a tool to identify that. And so the hope is that by doing this post-election to sort of validate the election tabulation system, it will just bring greater validity to the work that we're doing and also increase that trust or that feeling of integrity with the election.
So we're going to move over in a moment over to our ballot retrieval, stage 1 of audit number 2, ballot polling audit. When we are there, we're going to assemble 6 teams. So there will be 6 tables set up. We're going to go through the 4 methods. You have the weighing method, the counting method, the ruler method, and the K-cup method. We're going to put each individual ballot, once it is pulled, into an envelope.
And we thought really hard about how to design an audit that would provide real information about how various approaches to future audits might work. This is actually a very conscious experiment. Let's try different things, see how well we can make each of them work, and see at the end of the day which of them we like best.
But really, it's been actually exciting and almost exhilarating at times because we're doing things that have never really been done before on a statewide level with a voting system like we have here in Rhode Island. and to see the elections officials come in here from around the country, to see civic organizations and groups, not just here from Rhode Island, but from all over the nation come here to observe this process, directly participate in this process, and influence it to have a better outcome, that's really been the exciting part.
So the end of day one, we were able to complete ballot retrieval for that second audit type. But because we ran out of time, we continued that on to the second day, which we had anticipated could happen. For day two, at the beginning, we were able to interpret the ballots all completely. So we had Louise Fana from the town of Burrillville, local election official there, and Nick Lima from the city of Cranston, a local election official, and they were able to assist us with being the interpreters for those ballots. So we had 200 ballots involved with that polling audit, and we were able to interpret each of those ballots today in about a 2-hour time span in order to get them all interpreted publicly on the dual monitors that we have downstairs in our warehouse on those 2 screens, and enter them into the software, as well as manually tally them on a physical piece of paper just as a backup. And that was a successful process after 2 hours.
When you look at the work that goes into making sure that the samples are from across the batch, and the detailed work that goes into that really gives me a strong feeling that this is a very reliable audit. And I think that any one of the 3 methods that might be chosen, I think we're going to walk into 2020 being able to tell people, yeah, I know the system and you can see the system and the system can be counted on.
The most efficient method, if you can do it, is what is going to happen this afternoon, which is called ballot level comparison audit. So in that, we know how the voting machine interpreted each of the ballots, and we can match each ballot to how the voting machine counted it, and then we draw a random sample of ballots and see whether each one was counted correctly or not, and if not, what the discrepancy was. The fly in the ointment is that the voting systems used in Rhode Island don't make that possible immediately. So we actually went through the first step for this pilot for the ballots from the city of Bristol of retabulating all the ballots and getting new interpretations and imprinting them so that now we can match ballots to how they were interpreted during the retabulation. I think people in the room in many cases don't know what to expect, and part of what we want to establish is that there are lots of ways of doing this and none of them is terrifying. Nothing can break. You don't actually need a PhD in statistics in order to do this stuff. It really, even though risk limiting audits use statistics, they're really not about statistics. They're really about managing ballots and examining ballots.
I have all the respect for every single member that works in the Board of Elections. They are a tremendous, dedicated group that never quit. And I walked into yesterday morning knowing that it would be successful. There was no fear or in my mind that we could possibly be a failure, because we are the Board of Elections and we proceed to make sure everything works.
For me, it's a huge sense of relief that we're able to do what we did these last couple of days. But I also realize that this is only the first step, a baby step, going forward with the risk limiting audits. So we're still going to continue to learn and grow. And we may not be running by, April of 2020 when we first do our first official risk limiting audit, but very soon after that, we hope to be off the ground running marathons, very soon after that.